07811 659 364. Serving the community. 102.5 EAVA FM.
चोरी नहीं की है तेरे संग यारा चोरा चोरी नहीं की है चुनिया मैंने बेकरार करके लगा लिया मैंने तुमसे प्यार करके तुमसे प्यार करके तुमसे प्यार करके कैसे मैं बताऊं तुझे कैसा मेरा हाल वे
हाय दोस्तों कहते हैं जी मैं दर्द लाई हूँ नजर में प्यार लाई हूँ जाने वो क्या कशिश थी आपके बदनवाजी में दीवानी बन के आपके प्यारे सिर्फ एक बार फिर से हाजिर हो चुकी है ओनली ऑन वन एंड ओनली रेडियो ईवा एफएम ऑन 102.5 आप सुन रहे हैं बॉलीवुड स्पेशल। आज बहुत ही प्यारा सा एक प्रोग्राम जो होने वाला है हम सभी जानते हैं कि यहाँ पर NHS के बारे में
तुमसे प्यार करके तुमसे प्यार करके
हाय दोस्तों, यहाँ पे एक बार फिर से आपका स्वागत हम करते हैं। आप सुन रहे हैं रेडियो ईवा एफएम ऑन 102.5 हमारी संग। और आज यहाँ पर जो बॉलीवुड स्पेशल हो रहा है, एंड एक बार फिर से जो भी आपने रेडियो ऑन किया हो, आपका स्वागत हम करते हैं। वेरी वेरी वार्म वेलकम टू यू ऑल एंड जय श्री कृष्ण, अस्सलाम वालेकुम, सत श्री अकाल जी, केम शो, मजामा शो जी। हाँ, इट्स अ ब्यूटीफुल वेदर आउटसाइड एंड ब्यूटीफुल डे, वेडनेसडे, यस 25th ऑफ नवंबर 2020 चल रहा है यहाँ पर। और आई दोस्त, यहाँ पर आपके साथ यहाँ पर वेरी स्पेशल गेस्ट आने वाले हमारे साथ यहाँ पर एनएचएस में से मिस्टर मार्क एंड कम्युनिटी वार्ड में से किरीट। सो यहाँ पर हमारे जो विजय जी पर यहाँ पर है, और हिज मैन प्रोड्यूसर डायरेक्टर।
गुड मॉर्निंग रूपा जी, तुम कैसे हो आज?
आज बिल्कुल मैं
ठीक
ठीक हूँ। आप कैसे हैं?
मैं भी बहुत ठीक हूँ। आज का स्पेशल शो है हमारा
जी,
बिल्डिंग बेटर हॉस्पिटल्स लेस्टर, बहुत अच्छा है। हम अभी किरीट को ले आते हैं लाइव हमारे साथ।
अच्छा, किरीट जो है हमारे कम्युनिटी के वार्ड कम्युनिटी के मेंबर
है।
हाँ,
किरीट,
अच्छा।
तुम कैसे हो? ठीक है,
बस ठीक हूँ मैं। कैसे, आप कैसे हैं?
हम सुनते नहीं है किरीट। हेलो किरीट, can we hear you? Hello, please talk. Hello किरीट।
हेलो, can you hear me?
तुम कैसे हो किरीट? ठीक है?
बस ठीक हूँ मैं। आप कैसे, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We are live.
Good.
Okay. हाँ, तो बोलिए रूपा जी, क्या?
हाँ किरीट, आपका स्वागत हम करते हैं रेडियो ईवा एफएम में से। और कैसे हैं आप?
बस
वेरी
ठीक।
नाइस ऑफ यू टू
नमस्ते।
कम
मैं ठीक
on
हूँ।
Radio Eva FM. So, Kirit ji, as we all know that जो यहाँ पर हो रहा है, जो NHS जो तीनों हॉस्पिटल बिल्डिंग better hospitals जैसे, so they are spending 450 million pounds just to improve, do the improvements. So आप क्या सोच रहे हैं? What is the your role as community ambassador for the consultation? आप कुछ इस बारे में बताएंगे हमारे
रूपा
व्यूअर्स
जी,
को?
हम पहले मार्क को ले आते हैं एनएचएस से।
हाँ, वो भी
हम
ठीक
मार्क
है।
को ले आते हैं।
हाँ जी।
गुड मॉर्निंग मार्क, हाउ आर यू?
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you. Good morning, Rupa, and good morning, Kirit, and good morning to all your listeners.
Morning, Mark.
Very good morning, Mark. Welcome to Radio Eva FM. Nice of you to come.
It's my pleasure.
So, Mark, as we're doing this very special program for NHS, building better hospitals. So, what are the changes are being proposed? And if you can just tell us on these changes to our all listeners and viewers.
Okay. So where shall I start? I'll tell you what, I'll start with the good news. So the good news was that in autumn last year, the government announced that Leicester would receive nearly £500 million worth of investment in its buildings. And we've been trying to achieve this for the last 20 years. So we were clearly really very happy when we finally kind of crossed the finish line and the government awarded us the money. And this is part of their national investment programme in the NHS. So we were delighted that finally Leicester had been singled out as a place that needs investment, because frankly, we've been underinvested in for the last 20 years or so. The big components in the investment are essentially the building of 3 new hospitals alongside some of our existing hospitals. So in no particular order, one of the things I'm most pleased about is we will be building a new standalone children's hospital. That's really important because Leicester has the biggest children's hospital service in the East Midlands, but you wouldn't know it because the services are dotted around the various sites that we have already. We're going to create a standalone children's hospital that is just dedicated to the treatment and care of children who are poorly. And that's important because if it's a standalone hospital, it can be child friendly and age appropriate, and children aren't sitting cheek by jowl with adults in hospital wards. That's really, really important. Second major component is a new day case hospital being built at the Glenfield. And this is important because essentially when our hospitals are running particularly hot with emergencies, our non-emergency care, so things like hip operations, cataracts, gallbladder removals, knee surgery, they're often cancelled. Those patients are cancelled at short notice because the emergency patients are taking priority. By building this new hospital at the Glenfield, it means that actually we can keep all our elective work, our non-urgent work, which is still really important for our patients, going no matter how hot we're running in terms of emergencies. And that will add somewhere between a half and a third onto the scale of the already large Glenfield Hospital. We're also building a new women's hospital, at the Royal Infirmary. And this will bring together the birthing service at the Leicester General Hospital, a similar size one at the Royal, and create a standalone women's hospital at the Royal Infirmary overlooking Nelson Mandela Park and the Tigers Stadium. So that's really exciting too, because the women's service, although it's a good service, is operating out of old and very tired buildings. And then finally, after all this has been done, the Leicester General Hospital will become a community health campus, by which I mean that it will have a GP primary care hub on the general site, but crucially, it will have imaging, diagnostics, and blood test ability alongside the GP diagnostic ability. And that's important because it means that GPs will be able to diagnose patients, send them for tests without asking them to go and rock up at the Royal or the Glenfield for further workup. So that's kind of the plan in a nutshell. We're really excited about it. Our doctors and our nurses, as I say, have been at this for 20 years. And subject to what we hear from the consultation, which we're in the midst of now, then those are the plans.
Okay. No, Mark, that sounds fantastic. There's a lot of plans that have been kind of proposed together. So why are the changes needed in Leicester? Well, I know you've briefly mentioned that that Leicester's been needed for the last 20 years. Before we kind of explain to our listeners in Hindi and Gujarati, just explain to us why is it so needed to spend this amount of money, you know?
Yeah, okay. So would you believe that we are operating currently out of buildings? Some of our oldest buildings are 252 years old, so way back before the NHS was even created. And though we seek to practice modern medicine and modern surgery for our patients, sometimes that's made almost impossible by the nature and the age of the buildings. So that's part of the reason. If there were one reason I would want you to kind of focus on, though, it is essentially that we have at the moment 3 big acute emergency hospitals in Leicester, and we're unusual in that for the size of population we serve. And that brings problems, and the problems are kind of probably best described as, if you're trying to run 3 hospitals when staffing is really difficult, because frankly there aren't enough doctors and nurses coming out of training, then spreading your doctors and nurses too thinly across 3 hospital sites means you get gaps in services. So that's a problem, staffing. The other problem is that patients tell us they get fed up of being pinged around the different hospitals for different parts of their treatment. So they might have some diagnostic work done at the General. They are then referred to the Royal Infirmary for a CT or an MRI scan, and then they might eventually have their procedure or their operation at the Glenfield. And what we prefer to do is try and get all our staff together as much as possible, our patients into one place, so that they're not pinged around those 3 sites. It's more convenient for the patients, and it's better to get our clinical skills in 1 or 2 places rather than 3. And then finally, it's really expensive to run 3 hospitals, whether it's 3 intensive care units or 3 canteens or cafeterias. It just doubles and triplicates the costs involved. And we would prefer to focus those costs on patient care and not on the kind of costs of running 3 big hospitals, when we could probably do it with 2, with the investment in those 2 sites as I've described.
Okay, Mark. So, चलिए Rupa, thank you for that, Mark. चलिए Rupa, हम सब listeners को बोलते हैं हिंदी में और गुजराती में कि Mark ने क्या बोला है.
अच्छा, ये जो अभी हॉस्पिटल स्पेंड कर रहे हैं टू इम्प्रूव दिस बेटर बिल्डिंग हॉस्पिटल 450 मिलियन पाउंड्स और ये कितने सालों से ये बदलाव आने के लिए कोशिश कर रहे हैं। तो हमारे जो सभी लिसनर्स हैं और व्यूज़ हैं वो हम चाहते हैं कि वो भी अपना व्यू करें। फॉर्म्स अगर ना किया हो फिल्ड तो फॉर्म्स भर दें, लेकिन डेडलाइंस थी, लेकिन फिर भी आप वहाँ पर होगा, हम एंड में आपको देंगे कि कैसे क्या माहिती आप कैसे वहाँ पर ले सकते हैं। तो ये जो अभी इम्प्रूवमेंट्स जो चेंजेस करने वाले हैं, सो ओवरऑल लेस्टर की जो हॉस्पिटल और रूटलैंड्स साथ के दे वहाँ पर सच बिग डिजीज़ जो होती है लाइक कंडीशंस जैसे कैंसर एंड हार्ट डिजीज़ जो होते हैं, सो उन सभी को एक मर्ज करके और इम्प्रूवमेंट करने के लिए डॉक्टर्स और नर्सिस वहाँ पर ज़्यादा होना चाहिए। ये भी एक हो सकता है। सो
और अभी उसने ऐसे बोला है कि सारे हॉस्पिटल्स में तुम 3 हॉस्पिटल में जाते हो जो स्कैन करने के लिए, ब्लड टेस्ट करने के लिए और बीमारी है तुम्हारी, अभी तुम एक ही जगह पे जाने वाले हो।
आएंगे हाँ,
तो वो भी बहुत अच्छा होएगा।
होगा,
ठीक है,
अच्छा होगा और जल्दी जो भी सिचुएशन जो है वो एक साथ जल्दी रिजल्ट हो जाता है।
हाँ।
सो वो एक बहुत ही अच्छा हमारे जो सारे
और
लेस्टरशायर्स के लिए है।
हमारे बच्चे के लिए हॉस्पिटल है, वो सब रॉयल इन्फर्मरी में आने वाला है
जी।
तो ऐसे बोला है बड़े से बड़े रॉयल इन्फर्मरी में बच्चे के लिए हॉस्पिटल बनाना है और जनरल में नहीं करेंगे, सिर्फ रॉयल इन्फर्मरी में होने वाला है।
जी।
तो जिसी को कैसे लगा, तुमको अच्छा लगा ये प्रपोजल, नहीं अच्छा लगा, हम सब विनती करते हैं सब लोग को कि वो www.betterhospitalsleicester.nhs.uk पर जाए और क्वेश्चनएयर फिल करो और तुम्हारे जो सोचते हैं इसमें डाल दो कि तुम कैसे, व्हाट डू यू थिंक?
हाँ, वो भी है, ठीक है। अगर जो किसी को इंग्लिश या गुजरात इंग्लिश में कोई प्रॉब्लम होता है, तो एक नंबर भी है जहाँ पर आप गुजराती में भी माहिती ले सकते हैं। जो नंबर है 29521110 और अगर आप एरिया कोड जानना चाहते हैं तो 0116 लगाना। तो वहाँ पर आप सभी जो गुजराती में है माहिती हिंदी में भी मिलेगी और
सारी लैंग्वेज में
पंजाबी
मिलेगा,
में भी
पंजाबी
मिलेगी।
में भी
हाँ
मिलेगा।
जी,
हाँ।
जी।
और नंबर है हमारा स्क्रीन पर भी है नंबर, तुम सब लोग को फेसबुक पर भी जाओ और देखो नंबर वहां पे है, यूट्यूब में भी है। और किरीट भाई तुमको गुजराती में बोलना है कुछ? कई गुजराती में बोलવું છે તમને?
થોડુંક બોલશું હા ગુજરાતીમાં ને થોડુંક ઇંગ્લિશમાં બી બોલશું. ઓકે
ઓકે, તમે ગુજરાતીમાં બોલો પછી આપણે ગુજરાતીમાં બી બોલે રૂપા સાથે.
ઓકે તો મારું નામ કિરીટ મિસ્ત્રી, હું છે ને સાઉથ એશિયન હેલ્થ એક્શન ચેરિટીમાં અમે અવેરનેસ રેઝ કરતા છે આપણા કમ્યુનિટીમાં, જેને ડાયાબિટીસ હોય, કિડની ડિઝીઝ, ઓર્ગન, બ્લડ ને સ્ટેમ સેલ ડોનેશન અમે બધા અવેરનેસ રેઝ કરતા છે. તો મેઇન છે ને કે આપણે પેશન્ટ તરીકે ને કમ્યુનિટી તરીકે છે ને આપણે ઇન્વોલ્વ નહીં કરે આપણા NHS હોસ્પિટલમાં ને આપણા જે, તો આપણે છે ને આપણો ફાયદો નહીં થશે, બીકોઝ આપણે જે આપણી સર્વિસીસ છે કલ્ચરલ સર્વિસીસ લેંગ્વેજમાં આપણે જો ક્વેશ્ચન નહીં ફિલ કરે આજે તો આપણો છે ને સર્વિસીસ નહીં મળશે સરખી રીતના. એટલે અમે છે ને અમે ચેરિટી થ્રુ અમે હોસ્પિટલ ને CCG સાથે છે ને કામ કરતા છે કે આપણે આપણા કમ્યુનિટીને કહેવો કે શું તમે 450 મિલિયન પાઉન્ડ સ્પેન્ડ કરવાના છે આ લોકો, તમને કેવી હોસ્પિટલ જોઈએ, કેવું આપણે સગવડ હોવું જોઈએ એમાં, ને જે તમારા જે કન્સર્ન્સ હોય અમને કહેવો તો પછી અમે આ ક્વેશ્ચન અમે બધું સમજાવશો આ લોકો હોસ્પિટલને. પણ મેઇન છે ને અમે પોતે કહેતા છે કે આપણે જો ઇન્વોલ્વ નહીં કરે ને આ ક્વેશ્ચનમાં નથી, આ કોન્સલ્ટેશનમાં નહીં, પણ પછી જ્યારે બધું કામ ચાલુ કરે ત્યારે અમને ઇન્વોલ્વમેન્ટ જોઈએ. આમ નહીં ખાલી કોન્સલ્ટેશનમાં પછી બંધ, આપણે છે ને ફૂલ ઇન્વોલ્વમેન્ટ કરવું જોઈએ. ને આપણા કમ્યુનિટી થ્રુ અમે એ સમજાતા છે બધાને કે તમે જો ઇન્વોલ્વ નહીં કરો તો તમે ફ્યુચરમાં તમને જો સર્વિસીસ જોઈએ તો કદાચ તમારે રાઇટ સર્વિસીસ નહીં બનાવશે, એટલે અત્યારે તમે તમારો ઇન્ફોર્મેશન ને તમારો opinions આપો.
ઓકે તો રૂપાજી આપણે હવે એમ કહેતા છે કે આ જે હોસ્પિટલ્સ જે છે નવે નામથી બનાવવાના છે, આટલા બધા પૈસા એ લોકો મૂકવાના છે. હા ને 3 હોસ્પિટલ્સ માંથી એકને ખાલી બધા છોકરા સારું હોસ્પિટલ જે છે તે રેસ્ટ રોયલ ફેમિલીમાં બનાવવાના છે, મોટી હોસ્પિટલ તા. ને પછી આપણે હવે પૂછીએ માર્કને કે આ બધા પૈસા તમે લાખવાના છે તે હવે તમે વધારે ડોક્ટર ને નર્સિસ કેમ નહીં આવે?
હા,
સાચી વાત કે નહીં?
બિલકુલ સાચી વાત છે. અને આપણે જે લિસનર્સ ને જેમના કિરીટ વાત કરી બરાબર છે, ઘણી વાર શું થાય છે કે એ લોકો આપણા લિસનર્સ લોકો જે હોય છે વોટ એવર, તો એ કમ્પ્લેન બહુ કરે છે કે હોસ્પિટલમાં આ નથી ઓલું નથી. તો આજે એક મોકો મળ્યો છે એ લોકોને કે જે બી એ લોકોના વ્યૂઝ હોય એ પ્રેસ કરે અને કંઈ પણ જે હોય, કારણ કે આટલું જે સ્પેન્ડ કરે તો એ લોકોની જે કોઈ બી ફેસિલિટી રિક્વાયરમેન્ટ્સ જે હોય એ લોકો આજે ચાન્સ છે કે એ લોકોને કરી શકે. તો
એવી પૂછવાનું કે આપણે જે સર્વિસીસ છે અત્યારે જનરલ હોસ્પિટલમાં આ કિડની ડાયાલિસિસની સર્વિસીસ છે એ મૂવ કરવાના છે એ લોકો આ પ્લાન્સમાં ગ્લેનફિલ્ડમાં. એ કંઈક તકલીફ પડશે આપણે કમ્યુનિટી? તમને ખબર છે કે અત્યારે જનરલ હોસ્પિટલમાં બધા જે ડાયાલિસિસ માટે જાય એ લોકોને ખબર છે કે કા જવાનું ને એમાં કંઈક તકલીફ પડશે એવી
સાચી વાત છે. Okay, Mark, we kind of told the listeners in Hindi and Gujarati. Also, the next question is, where's the money coming from? It's a lot of money. Where is it coming from? And would it not be better to employ more doctors and nurses with the money? Double question for you, Mark.
Okay, and good questions as well. So just to put the money in context, because I know 450 million is inconceivable to most people, including me. But it costs, would you believe, £2.5 million a day to run the hospitals currently. So set against 450 million, if we had that in one big check and spent it just on running the hospitals, it would run the hospitals for essentially half a year. So that puts it in context. The money's coming from the government. It's not a, if your listeners remember PFI, so private finance initiatives, which was essentially a big mortgage. It's not a mortgage. It is just a lump sum from the Treasury. So there are no repayments on it. All of which is good. In terms of, would it not be better to spend it on staff? Our problem with staff is not that we don't have the money to employ them. Genuinely, it's not that we can't afford to employ them. It's the fact that they don't exist. And what I mean by that is, at the moment, as an example, we are 450 nurses short of being at full nursing complement. We have the money to employ those nurses, but there aren't enough nurses coming out of training for us to employ. So there's always a shortage of nurses. And that's why you see, sadly, us having to recruit from overseas, thus, denuding the ability of other places around the globe to kind of have their own nurse staffing. So money is, and it's unusual we hear this from the NHS, but money is not the root of the problem in terms of staffing. It's the availability of doctors and nurses coming out of training.
Okay, thanks for that, Mark. We're going to tell the listeners in Hindi, and we're going to also explain it in Gujarati. We've got literally 3 minutes left before our commercials start, and we will come back shortly after the commercials. But हमरा આપણે જે માર્ક બોલ્યું છે, આપણે માર્કને પ્રશ્ન કીધેલું કે આ પૈસા ક્યાંથી આવવાના છે ને પૈસાને આપણે વાપરવાના છે, આપણે વધારે ડોક્ટર ને નર્સિસ ને કેમની કામ આપે?
જી, સો આ જે 450 million pounds છે એ આવશે ગવર્મેન્ટ જે છે એમના પાસેથી, અને કોઈ જાતની લોન કે એવું પેમેન્ટ નથી કરવાનું. તો એટલા વાસ્તે આટલા જે પૈસા આવે છે, અત્યારે જો હાલમાં 250 million pounds લાગે છે હોસ્પિટલને આપણે એક દિવસ રન કરતા, જેને એનું કોસ્ટ ને બધું થાય છે. સો ઇટ સાઉન્ડ્સ કે 450 million pounds ઇઝ અ લોટ, બટ જોવા જાય તો 450 pounds તો કંઈ કહેવાય નહીં, કારણ કે આ 3 હોસ્પિટલને આપણે સાથે ને ચલાવી તો એમના કારણ કે જેટલું પણ આપણે વસ્તુ બધી એની હોય ઇક્વિપમેન્ટ્સ હોય ડોક્ટર્સ લોકોના પગાર નર્સિસના પગાર એ બધા કાઢવા બહુ અઘરા છે બહુ મુશ્કેલ છે ઘણી વાર આપણને એમ લાગે કે ડોક્ટર્સને આ લોકો કંઈ કરતા નથી પણ એ લોકોનો વાંક નથી કારણ કે આપણે અત્યારે નર્સિસ ને ડોક્ટર્સ બહુ ઓછા છે એ હિસાબે એ લોકોને ટ્રેનિંગ કરવા મોકલવું પડે છે બટ ઓવરસીઝ વાસ્તે મંગાવવા પડે છે બહાર ગામથી
એ છે ને રૂપા વાત કે આપણી પાસે ટ્રેનિંગના ડોક્ટર ને નર્સિસ બહુ ઓછા છે એટલે આપણે બહારેથી ડોક્ટર ને નર્સિસ ને બોલાવે છે
બિલકુલ
ને આપણા હોસ્પિટલ્સ કેટલું જૂનું છે બહુ જૂનું છે માં કેમ કેતો છે કે બધા તમને પૂછે છે કે તમારો મોકો છે આવેલો છે કે તમે ક્વેશ્ચન ભરો તમને ગમતું છે આ લોકો ડોક્ટર જે કરવાના છે કે નથી ગમતું તમને તમે વેબસાઇટ પર જાઓ ને નહીં તો તમને વેબસાઇટ નહીં આવડતી હોય તો તમારે શું કરવાનું છે આ નંબર ફોન કરજો 01162950750 ને તમે પછી કહેજો કે તમને આ ફોર્મ જોઈતું છે તમે ભરો ને કેવું કે તમને આ પ્રપોઝલ તમને ગમતું છે કે નથી ગમતું
બિલકુલ એટલે કોઈ લેંગ્વેજમાં એ લોકો કરી શકે છે
હું બી પછી મારો ફોન નંબર આપીશ કે મને બી કોન્ટેક્ટ કરજો ને ખાસ બીજું એક ફાઇનલ પોઈન્ટ કે છે ને આપણા કમ્યુનિટીમાં આપણે છે ને છોકરા ને છોકરી લોકોને કે સમજાવે કે તમે નર્સિસ કરવું છે કે નહીં એ બી પ્રોબ્લેમ છે કે બહારથી આવતા
20 જ સેકન્ડ બાકી છે પછી આપણે એડવર્ટાઇઝમાં જશું એટલે તમે 20 સેકન્ડ સારો બોલી લો
હા તો એ આપણે છે ને we should get our communities to think about going into nursing profession because then that will help to cut the shortage of coming from overseas. We need to encourage our communities to do that as well. That's a big
yeah. Okay, આપણે પાછા હમણાં આવે છું બ્રેકમાંથી
EAVA, sharing the richness of cultures. This is EAVA FM.
Metal is amazing. It can transform itself into pretty much anything, from a tiny little can to a phone, computer, or even another little can. Metal is a valuable resource for our city and is endlessly recyclable. So when you finish with your food and drink cans, aerosols and foil, give it a quick rinse and drop it into your orange recycling bag or recycling bin. It's as easy as that. Visit leicester.gov.uk/recycling. Go on, keep recycling for Leicester and make your metals matter.
This is EAVA FM.
This is an important update about coronavirus. To help save lives, new national restrictions are now in place until the 2nd of December. You must stay at home. Only leave home for food, medical reasons, exercise, education, or work. You must work from home if you can and avoid travel unless essential. Go to gov.uk/coronavirus for latest guidance and exemptions. Stay alert. Control the virus. Save lives.
EAVA FM.
As winter approaches, here's a critical reminder of coronavirus symptoms from Dr. Gupta.
The main symptoms of coronavirus are a high temperature or a new continuous cough or a sudden loss or change in your sense of smell or taste. If you have any of these, to protect yourself and others, it is critical you isolate at home, even if you don't feel too bad. And you must book a test immediately. Use the NHS COVID-19 app or go to gov.uk/coronavirus.
Stay alert. Control the virus. Save lives.
EAVA FM.
Just the flu, people say every year. But in an average year, the flu kills 11,000 people and hospitalises tens of thousands more. There's no just about it. Flu is a virus that can cause serious complications. That's why we offer you the flu vaccine free. It's your very best protection. Ask your pharmacist or GP if you're eligible for the free flu vaccine. NHS. To protect against flu, help us help you.
Serving the community 24 hours a day. EAVA FM.
Businesses. Want to keep your business moving? Then you need to get a move on. From the 1st of Jan next year, if you deal with Europe, you've got new rules to follow. Time is running out. So get on it at gov.uk/transition. New rules for business. Large, micro, one-man band. New rules are coming no matter what. Get it done today at gov.uk/transition. Check, change, go.
EAVA FM is a multilingual radio station serving the diverse communities of Leicester on 102.5 FM. For advertising and sponsorship, email sales@eavafm.com or call 07811 659 364. That's 07811 659 364. Serving the community, 102.5 EAVA FM.
जी हाँ, इधर यहाँ पर आप सुन रहे हैं रेडियो ईवा एफएम ऑन 102.5। अभी जो आपने रेडियो ऑन किया हो तो आपका स्वागत है। यहाँ पर जो लाइव प्रोग्राम हो रहा है, इंटरव्यू हो रहा है और बिल्डिंग बेटर हॉस्पिटल्स फॉर द फ्यूचर। सो यहाँ पर हमारे जो साथ में है मार्क। मार्क, once again welcome to you. Okay, so far, yes, we've so good information we've received from you. Will the proposals make it more difficult to park at Leicester Royal Infirmary? What do you think?
It wouldn't be a conversation with Leicester's hospitals if we didn't talk about parking, would it? So,
absolutely.
Thank you, Kirit. It will make it easier, and I'll tell you why. So at the moment, the Royal is our busiest site by far, and as your listeners will know, it's right in the heart of the city, and right in the heart of the city is where the biggest problems with traffic are. When we build the new hospital at the Glenfield, this thing I referred to as the Day Case Treatment Centre, that will take about half of the patients currently treated at the Royal away from the Royal Infirmary site. And to give you a sense of scale on that, the Royal Infirmary sees about 750,000 patients a year, just the Royal Infirmary. At the end of this plan, about 350,000 of those patients will be treated at the Leicester Glenfield site. And that will decongest the Royal Infirmary buildings, but it will also decongest the city centre. At the same time as that, we're also building extra car parks at both the Royal and the Glenfield Hospital. Most of them at the Glenfield because that will have more patient contacts up there. So the short answer is yes, it will help with parking and travel and access to the hospitals.
Okay, Mark. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Mark. So yeah, I'm just going to explain to our listeners in Hindi and Gujarati. So यहाँ पर हम पूछ रहे थे कि डिफिकल्टीज होगी जो वहाँ पर ये लेस्टर रॉयल इंफर्मरी कार पार्क इशू। तो कार पार्क में बहुत जो है अभी होता है क्योंकि एक तो सिटी इतनी बिजी होती है और कभी हम टाइम पर पहुंचते नहीं तो वहां पर पार्किंग भी बहुत डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है। लेकिन डेफिनेटली
बहुत मुश्किल है ना,
बहुत ही मुश्किल
बहुत
होती है।
मुश्किल है।
तो जैसे सिटी इतना बिजी होता है तो कहीं भी आप जाओ 1-2 आवर्स तो यहाँ पर जल्दी पहुंचना ही होता है। तो कहीं हिसाब से कोई पहुंच ना पाए तो अभी जब ये होगा बिल्डिंग नई और तो बिल्कुल आसान हो जाएगा पार्किंग के लिए, है ना?
बहुत आसान हो
जाएगा।
ऐसे कि मार्क ने ऐसे बोला है कि हमारी पार्किंग को तुम टेस्ट रॉयल इंफर्मरी में टेस्ट लेते हो और स्कैन लेते हो। अभी सब लोग जनरल हॉस्पिटल में जाने वाले हैं तो तुम्हारा टेस्ट और सब कुछ रॉयल में नहीं जाना होगा
ना। सो सभी एक जगह पर हो जाएगा which is superb। टाइम भी हो जाएगा और उसकी जो रिजल्ट है वो भी जल्दी आ
जाएगी जी। और पार्किंग उसने और नया पार्किंग भी बनाना है वहां पे रॉयल में और नया कार पार्क भी बनाना है वहां पे। Is that right, Mark? There's going to be more parking available at Royal Leicester LRI. Is that correct?
Yeah, at both the Royal and the Glenfield will be increasing the numbers of car parks.
Okay. So Mark ने भी ऐसे बोला है कि और पार्किंग बढ़ाएगा जनरल में ग्लेनफील्ड में और रॉयल इंफर्मरी में ज्यादा पार्किंग भी हो जाएगी
जी।
ठीक है।
पार्किंग प्रॉब्लम इश्यूज ये भी होती है कि व्हेन यू पुट मनी इन देयर for so kabhi when they don't have a money sometimes on like changes is very like you know short of changes तो वो भी एक कुछ उसमें भी एक नजर डालेंगे।
हम मार्क को पूछेंगे
हाँ जी
so Mark, one of the questions that's come through directly right now to us is parking fees. We're just going to talk about that. Are they going to be raised, or is it going to stay the same, or is it not decided yet? Or
okay. So if I may, can I set a bit of context? So at the moment, in hospitals up and down the UK, parking is paid for by patients.
Yes.
And the reason for that is essentially if patients didn't pay for it, the NHS would have to divert money from patient care, i.e. frontline clinical services, into subsidising car parking. And I don't think that's right, and the NHS doesn't think that's right. At the same time, I know the government are currently thinking about what they're going to do in the medium to long term on hospital car parking, and there's quite a group of lobbyists nationally who are trying to persuade the government to make all hospital car parking free of charge. And if that's the case, that would be great for patients, clearly, and as long as the government were able to kind of subsidise the amount of money it costs us to provide car parking, then we'd be happy with that.
Okay.
In the meantime, we continue to charge until government policy changes. And when we look at the charges that we charge at the moment, we compare them to other hospitals like Nottingham, Derby, Coventry, Burton, places like that. And we compare well, i.e. we're cheaper. And we also compare them to what you'd be paying if you were paying kind of normal rates in the city through NCP car parks and things like that. And we're cheaper again. So I get the fact that actually hospital car parking is a hot issue. We'd probably like it to be free as long as the government kind of didn't make us pay for it in that sense. But for as long as it remains, we try and keep charges to a minimum. So we're not making money out of it. We're just covering our costs.
Okay, I'm just going to quickly explain. I know. Basically, you have to leave us at 8:45, and we've got one more question to cover, which is really important. So I'm just going to quickly just say to the listeners in Hindi what you just said. तो हमारा जो parking fees अभी है, वो government का policy है. वो उसका कायदा कानून है हमारे UK में कि hospitals में parking का charge होने वाला है. तो जहाँ सब government का policy सब change नहीं होता, until then
they're going to charge. वो charge लेंगे.
वो charge लेंगे. ठीक है ना रूपा?
हाँ जी. और फिर भी वो भी जो बाहर city में है या rates cheaper है.
बहुत
ये
low है.
पैसे नहीं बनाते. वो जो cost cover है, cost cover करते हैं. तो उस हिसाब से तो ठीक है.
नहीं, हमारे जो hospitals है यहाँ पे लेस्टर में वो बहुत ऊंचा है उसका फीस compared to Nottingham, London.
Yes.
तो हमारा सिर्फ ऊंचा है.
जी.
हाँ. तो okay, Mark, your final question with us. Well, it's another double question. We love double questions here at EVA FM. You know. So what is happening at General Hospital? We've heard people saying it's closing. Well, is this true? You know, General Hospital is like the heart of the community, really, especially for our South Asian community. So what's happening at General?
Okay. So as it happens, we were with my colleagues and I were with some of your local councillors last night in the Evington ward talking about this very thing. So as I said at the start, the investment is going in the main into the Leicester Royal Infirmary and the Glenfield Hospital, because what we're trying to do is make sure all our clinical services are in the right place rather than dotted around 3 hospitals, including our staff being dotted around 3 hospitals. That means in the future, the general hospital will no longer be what we call an acute hospital. An acute hospital just means it's got lots of beds and it takes emergency patients. We want to focus all that emergency work on the Royal and the Glenfield for good, sound clinical reasons. The general, as a consequence, then becomes a community primary care hub, which is NHS jargon for a big GP practice with on-site imaging, diagnostics, bloods, some observation beds, so that they can, if a patient comes into their GP surgery and they're looking particularly unwell, and the GP is thinking, do they need a referral into the emergency department, or could I just keep an eye on them for a few hours and try and avoid them going into hospital? It's that kind of thing. I think personally it's really exciting. I think that's the future of primary care and GP surgeries is that they will become larger and more adept at dealing with patients, so they don't have to send them into hospital. So I think it's good in that sense.
So we'll just
okay. The general then will be the Diabetes Centre of Excellence alongside the GP hub. Stroke rehabilitation, so for patients who've got past the dangerous stage of their stroke and they're needing rehabilitation, so that service will run out of the general. There'll be a midwife-led birthing unit, so for mums who want to give birth but not in a kind of in a medical setting, a midwife-led birthing unit, and some other smaller functions. And then what remains of the general hospital site, which is a very big site, much of the land will be sold off for housing, including key worker housing and NHS worker housing. And the money that we get for that will be reinvested into NHS services locally.
Okay. So the general, as I see it, will be like this large community hub.
Exactly so.
Yeah. So will treatment and operating will not be happening there? There'll be more of observation, more scans, more tests, but not such as treatment and operation and theatre.
No theatres, no. So it depends on the nature of the treatment. So a lot nowadays, a lot of work that used to be done in hospitals 10 years ago can actually be done in GP surgeries, in clean rooms, and the like. We expect that to be even better at the Leicester General in the primary care hub, because it will have all the infrastructure that was left from when it was an acute hospital for GPs to run as the primary care hub. But no, it won't be doing operating, but it'll be doing minor procedures.
Okay. So just to get this right, so if I was a patient and I visited my local GP and I said, okay, I've been referred to have a blood test, a MRI scan, and some X-rays, I would no longer go to 3 different places. So for my X-ray, I would go to Glenfield. Currently, right now, for my MRI and CT scan, I would go to LRI, Royal Infirmary, and for my bloods, could use my GP or the general currently. So now that would be all. I would just go one place. That would be the new general community, what's been proposed, and have that all done at the same time on the same day. Is that right?
You explain it better than I do.
Okay. Well, I'm just trying to paint a picture. If
that's perfect. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Would the 3 things be done on the same day? Is that what you're proposing, or would it be done on separate days at the new general community hospital?
So ideally on the same day. As I said, one of the things we're trying to fix is patients being pinged backwards and forwards on different days to different parts of essentially the same pathway. But if you're a GP, you're limited by your access to all the things that we have in hospital. So we've got loads and loads and millions of pounds worth of kit in hospital, but the GPs don't have access to it unless they send their patient into hospital.
Yeah.
If they have it at the primary care hub and it's literally next door to them on site, they've got immediate access, which means they're not pinging their patients backwards and forwards.
Mark, just a quick one before you go. I just said in Gujarati that the consultation is important, but also it's after the consultation, community involvement, patient involvement is got to be key to how the development goes forward. So I think that's something that going to be an opportunity for, once the consultation is done, we certainly as patients want to have further involvement so that we can, see this into fruition, really.
I think that's a really, really important point, because I mean, this is going to sound a little bit silly and motherhood and apple pie, but if you think about the NHS and hospitals, it's probably one of the only services that we pay for far in advance of ever using it. And when I say we, I mean we, the public, citizens, communities, taxpayers.
Yeah.
So whilst people like me are seen to be in charge of the NHS, we don't own it. It's owned by the public. And therefore, NHS buildings are public buildings. And I'm really keen that when it comes to getting into the design of the buildings, i.e. how they look and feel on the inside and the outside, that we listen to the public on that, because we need to make them into public spaces where people aren't frightened of coming and they feel like they have a stake in it. Because that way it helps address some of the health inequalities that we know exist in the city and further afield. So you're absolutely right, Kirit, that the consultation is about the plans, i.e. this is what we would like to do. But at the end of the consultation, we've still got to think about, okay, so how do the plans get enacted, and what do the buildings look like, and what's the experience like for patients?
Somebody's just asked me, somebody has just asked me, they've WhatsApped me this question. I don't know if you've got time to answer it. I know you're busy. Okay. So the person says the consultation kind of finishes on the 21st of December. What's going to happen with all the consultation? I know you've said it. We're going to look at it. Will this data be what the Leicester public has said? Will it be out there for? How will it be used? And basically, that's what they're asking. You know,
it's a really good question. So, following the end of the consultation on the 21st of December, we have I say we, it's our colleagues in the CCGs, the clinical commissioning groups who are running the consultation. They will crunch all the numbers. They've got an outside organisation to do the number crunching, and they'll look at what people are saying, what people are saying they like, what people are saying they don't like. They'll look at some of the rather than just the tick box answers, they'll look at some of the free text to see what nuances people are telling us about. And from that, they'll produce a document that says, okay, having asked, 5, 6, 7,000 people, these are the themes that are coming out of those conversations. And this is what it's leading us to think in terms of what the final plans will look like. And that will be all published and available for the public to have a look at.
Oh wow! Okay, so that's fantastic. Okay, Mark, I know you've got something planned already. We've had you over 20 minutes over here, but thank you, Mark, for joining us. Rupa, you want to say anything to Mark?
No, thank you very much, Mark. It was so nice information we have received from you. So once again, thank you so much from myself and from Radio EAVA FM.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And if I can say to your listeners, thank you for listening, and please stay safe and stay well. These are difficult times, and it's still there. The virus is still there, and it's no less deadly than it was before. So please look after yourselves, and I hope not to see you in these hospitals in the nicest possible way.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye all. See you, Kirit.
Okay, bye. और उसने बोला है मार्क, थैंक यू।
हाँ जी, तो बहुत अच्छी जो इन्फॉर्मेशन वो दे रहे थे। और जैसे एक बार फिर से हम सारे हमारे जो व्यूज हैं उनको हम कहेंगे कि ये जो बहुत बड़ा ये चांस मिला है हम सभी को कि बदलाव होने के ये प्रस्ताव किया जा रहा है नया। सो जो अगर आपने माहिती लेनी हो तो एक बार फिर से यहाँ पर हमारे पेज पर भी है नंबर और सभी कुछ। सो जाएंगे कुछ बात
फिर हम गाना मुकेंगे, पर गाना से पहले हम बोलेंगे कि हमारा जनरल हॉस्पिटल में क्या हो रहा है। मार्क ने ऐसे बोला है कि हमारा जनरल बंद नहीं करना है।
हाँ, वो तो बंद नहीं करने वाले हैं।
चेंजेस तो होने वाला है,
थोड़ा बहुत चेंजेस होगा। हाँ,
जरूर होना है।
तो सभी के लिए बहुत अच्छा है।
तो उसने बोला कि जनरल में हमारे हॉस्पिटल में वो जीपी जैसे बनेगा, पर बड़ा से बड़ा जीपी बनेगा। वहां से ऑपरेशन नहीं होने वाला है। हमारा सारे ऑपरेशंस अभी एलआरआई और ग्लेनफील्ड में हो जाएंगे
जी।
और हमारे जो जनरल हॉस्पिटल में है वहां सारे टेस्ट होने वाले हैं। तो अभी हम जाते हैं, हमारे जीपी को बोलते हैं कि हमारी बीमारी है, जीपी बोलते हैं कि ब्लड टेस्ट है, एमआरआई करना है और एक्सरे करना है। हमको 3 हॉस्पिटल में जाना पड़ता है।
फिर ब्लड टेस्ट करने के लिए
हमारे जीपी में करना है
जी।
हमारे एक्सरे को ग्लेनफील्ड में अभी जाना पड़ता है। एमआरआई और सीटी को हम रॉयल फैमिली में जाना पड़ता है। तो अभी हम नया बनाएंगे तो सारे सब कुछ टेस्ट हम एक साथ करेंगे, एक ही दिन में जनरल में करेंगे
जी।
कैसे लगता है रूपा जी?
आई थिंक बहुत अच्छा है ये आइडियाज। और हम सभी के लिए, क्योंकि काफी केसेस देखे हैं मैंने अभी बिगड़ गए हैं
हाँ।
क्योंकि वक्त के हिसाब से डॉक्टर्स और नर्सेस कम होने से हिसाब से
अभी तो हम कितनी दौड़ा दौड़ी करते हैं,
बस भागा भाग करते
भागे
हैं
भाग करते हैं।
और अभी इस दौर में
हाँ।
2020 जो सभी के लिए पूरा वर्ल्ड के लिए बहुत खराब है।
मैं सुनता हूँ हम रेडियो पे है, सारे लोग हमको
जी।
फोन करते हैं और बोलते हैं कि मेरे को स्कैन करना है, यहाँ जाना है, इतने घंटे वेट करना है
जी।
और फिर हमको एक्सरे करना है, वहां दौड़ना पड़ता है और ब्लड
बिल्कुल।
टेस्ट करना है, फिर हमको सर्जरी में जाना पड़ता है।
जी।
तो एक साथ क्यों नहीं करते? अभी ऐसे ही है।
हाँ, और वो भी एक चीज वो भी है कि जब जाएं हम, कोई डायबिटीज हो या कोई कोई कैसी है कोई बीमारी हो, तो खाने के लिए भी बहुत मुश्किल हो, क्योंकि जब भी
बहुत
सुबह से
मुश्किल
निकल
है।
जाते हैं
हाँ।
तो वो ऐसे भाग दौड़ में कुछ खाते भी नहीं है, ऐसे ही चले जाते हैं। तो वहां पर हॉस्पिटल में बहुत कम मतलब मिलता है, लेकिन इट्स डिफिकल्ट। अभी तो कोविड के हिसाब से आप कुछ बाई भी नहीं कर सकते
हाँ।
हॉस्पिटल में।
तो और जनरल में थोड़ा सा उसकी जमीन है, वो भी वो लोग ऐसे बोलते हैं कि वो बेचेंगे जमीन और वो जमीन को घर
बनाएंगे।
घर
हाँ।
बनाएंगे
और भी की वर्कर्स के लिए, जैसे
workers
एनएचएस
के लिए।
हाउसेस
हाँ।
में, तो वो भी बहुत अच्छा होगा क्योंकि वो सभी वहां पर एक साथ, वहां पर उनके लिए भी जो डॉक्टर्स जो नर्सिस होते हैं उनके लिए भी बहुत अच्छा हो गया।
तो ये प्रपोजल बहुत अच्छा है हमारे लिए।
जी।
और तुमको जो लिसनर्स, हम विनती करते हैं सारे लिसनर्स को कि तुम लोग अभी हम ये वेबसाइट पर जाओ, ये नंबर को फोन करो। वेबसाइट है betterhospitalsleicester.nhs.uk और तुमको फॉर्म चाहिए घर पे या तुमको इंग्लिश बहुत जास्ती नहीं आती है तो 01162950750 को फोन करिए और नंबर को लगाइए और बोलिए कि हमको बहुत इंग्लिश समझते नहीं आती है तो हम बनाइए। चलो रूपा जी, हम एक गाना सुनाइए। बहुत बातचीत करी है, हमारे लिसनर्स को बोलते हैं कि सारे बहुत सुनते हैं। फिर हम एडवर्ड के पास हम किरीट को बुलाएंगे और हम किरीट भाई को पूछेंगे कि वो उसका रोल क्या है।
जी
ठीक है।
हाँ जी। आए बस भी 5 मिनट बाकी है, एक गाना बजा देते हैं आप सभी के लिए। यहाँ पर बहुत ही प्यारा सा ये गीत है,
चलो
फिल्म शर्मिली में चलिए।
अरे वाह, बहुत अच्छा।
खिलते हैं गुल यहाँ खिल के बिखरने को, खिलते हैं गुल यहाँ खिल के बिखरने को, मिलते हैं दिल यहाँ मिल के बिछड़ने को, खिलते हैं गुल यहाँ। कल रहे ना रहे मौसम ये प्यार का, कल रुके ना रुके डोला बहार का, कल रहे ना रहे मौसम ये प्यार का, कल रुके ना रुके डोला बहार का। 4 पल मिले जो आज प्यार में गुजार दे, खिलते हैं गुल यहाँ खिल के बिखरने को, खिलते हैं गुल यहाँ। हाँ, झीलों के होठों पर मेघों का राग है, फूलों के सीने में ठंडी ठंडी आग है। दिलों के होठों पर मेघों का राज है, फूलों के सीने में ठंडी ठंडी आग है, दिल के आईने में तू ये समा उतार ले, खिलते हैं गुल यहाँ, खिल के बिखरने को खिलते हैं गुल यहाँ। प्यासा है दिल सनम, प्यासी ये रात है, होठों में दबी दबी कोई मीठी बात है। प्यासा है दिल सनम, प्यासी ये रात है, होठों में दबी दबी कोई मीठी बात है। जिन लम्हों पे आज तू हर खुशी निसार दे, खिलते हैं गुल यहाँ, खिल के बिखरने को मिलते हैं दिल यहाँ, मिल के बिछड़ने को खिलते हैं गुल यहाँ।
शर्मीली में सलीवा खूबसूरत ये नगमा। तो इधर से बहुत जल्दी हम जाएंगे एडवर्ड की तरफ, और एडवर्ड के बाद सिलसिला शुरू होगा, जारी होगा हमारे जो किरीट के साथ, और गुजराती में हिंदी में बात करेंगे।
और किरीट बोलते हैं कि ये सॉन्ग उसका माँ की फेवरेट है।
अच्छा, बहुत अच्छा गाना है, और सुबह सुबह अच्छा गाना सुनने को मिलता है, एंड दैट इज ओनली ऑन रेडियो ईवा एफएम। सो चलते हैं बहुत जल्दी एडवर्ड की तरफ, और एडवर्ड के बाद हम प्रोग्राम शुरू रखेंगे, चालू रखेंगे। सो हियर वी आर।
EAVA, sharing the richness of cultures. This is EVA FM.
This is an important update about coronavirus. To help save lives, new national restrictions are now in place until the 2nd of December. You must stay at home. Only leave home for food, medical reasons, exercise, education, or work. You must work from home if you can, and avoid travel unless essential. Go to gov.uk/coronavirus for latest guidance and exemptions. Stay alert. Control the virus. Save lives.
This is EVA FM.
The NHS would like your views on their proposals to transform acute and maternity services at Leicester's hospitals. They include moving acute care to the Royal Infirmary and Glenfield Hospital, new and refurbished buildings, a doubling of intensive care capacity, and a community health campus for the General Hospital. To see the proposals and give your views, go to www.betterhospitalsleicester.nhs.uk.
Serving the community 24 hours a day. EVA FM.
NHS लेस्टर के अस्पतालों में फौरी मदद और मातृत्व सेवाओं यानी कि एक्यूट केयर एंड मैटरनिटी सर्विसेज में परिवर्तन के लिए अपने 450 मिलियन पाउंड्स के प्रस्तावों पर आपके विचार जानना चाहेंगे। इनमें एक्यूट केयर को रॉयल इन्फर्मरी, ग्लेनफील्ड हॉस्पिटल और नई व पुनर्निर्मित इमारतों में स्थानांतरित करना व गहन देखभाल क्षमता और सामुदायिक स्वास्थ्य परिसर का दोहरीकरण शामिल है। जनरल हॉस्पिटल के लिए मेल्टन मोबरे से एक दाई के नेतृत्व वाली इकाई के संभावित स्थान परिवर्तन के साथ अपने विचार बताने के लिए आप ये प्रस्ताव देख सकते हैं और एक प्रश्नावली यानी कि क्वेश्चनर के जवाब दे सकते हैं www.betterhospitalsleicester.nhs.uk पर, या कॉल करें 0116-295-0750।
Serving the community 102.5 EVA FM.
Businesses, time is running out. Starting on the 1st of Jan, anyone who deals with Europe will have to follow new rules on exports, imports, tariffs, data, and hiring. I know we've all got our hands full right now, but basically, if any part of your business crosses borders, you need to do something about it now. This is happening. So make sure you have everything covered. We haven't got long. Start now at gov.uk/transition. Check, change, go.
EVA FM.
I wash my hands to protect my family.
I wear a face covering to protect my mates.
I make space to protect my colleagues.
Hands.
Face.
Space.
I wash my hands to protect strangers.
I wear a face covering to protect other passengers.
I make space to protect you.
Hands.
Face.
Space. As we spend more time indoors, we need to do whatever we can to help protect each other from coronavirus. So please wash hands, cover face, make space.
EAVA FM is a multilingual radio station serving the diverse communities of Leicester on 102.5 FM. For advertising and sponsorship, email sales@eavafm.com or call 07811 659 364. That's 07811 659 364. Serving the community, 102.5 EAVA FM.
जी हाँ दोस्तों, आप सुन रहे हैं रेडियो ईवा एफएम ऑन 102.5 हमारे संग के रूपा सोनी के साथ हमारा आपका साथ रहेगा पूरे 10 बजे तक। तो आइए दोस्तों, यहाँ पर स्पेशल जो प्रोग्राम हो रहा है आज बॉलीवुड में, और यहाँ पर अभी जो आप बात कर रहे थे माँ के साथ NHS जो से, और हमारे साथ यहाँ पर जो कम्युनिटी गेस्ट है वो है किरिट। एक बार फिर से किरिट जी आपका यहाँ पर स्वागत हम करते हैं। वेरी वार्म वेलकम टू यू। सो किरिट जी, yes, I've just heard that it was your mom's favorite song which I played अभी जो हमने किया था play, खिलते हैं गुल यहाँ, and bless her, she would have been turned into 90. So जहाँ भी है हम उनको प्रणाम करते हैं. So I'm sure she must be giving us blessing.
Yes, thank you for that. Yes, it was a favorite song, so good.
So हाँ, so Kate, आपकी जो यहाँ पर बात कर रहे हैं, जैसे what is your role as community ambassador for the consultation? आपका रोल क्या है यहाँ पर?
रोल तो ये है कि आपका कम्युनिटी के इंगेज करेंगे तो इसका व्यूज लेंगे, कंसल्टेशन में फिल करेंगे। ये मेन रोल तो ये है कि पेशेंट्स है, कम्युनिटीज है, ये लोगों को बताएंगे कि ये कंसल्टेशन बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है, चेंजेस जो थेंगे फ्यूचर में, ये आपका हॉस्पिटल है, तो ये आपका जो आपका व्यूज नहीं कंसल्टेशन में जाए अपेंगे तो आपका फायदा नहीं पड़ेंगे। तो अभी जो नहीं कंसल्टेशन में इंगेज करेंगे तो आफ्टर नहीं बोलेंगे कि हम ये हॉस्पिटल नहीं हमें अच्छे लगेगा, ये हमको नहीं कंसल्टेशन करेंगे और कंसल्ट करेंगे। तो ये मेन रोल है। तो हम 2 के 3 फोकस ग्रुप्स कंसल्टेशन इवेंट्स ऑर्गेनाइज करेंगे। पहले तो 9 दिसंबर में ये जूम बेस्ड कंसल्टेशन करेंगे कि आपका ये एशियन साउथ एशियन पेशेंट्स है, कम्युनिटीज है, के केयर्स है, इसको बुलाएंगे कि तुम ये कंसल्टेशन है, आपका opinions, views up, give us your views, and we can help give them back to the hospital and the NHS. Sorry, my Hindi is not very brilliant, but I tried.
तो नहीं, बहुत अच्छा है। तो ये तो बहुत अच्छा आइडियाज़ है। जूम में आप करेंगे और सभी को इनवाइट करके अपने अपने जो व्यूज़ है वो शेयर कर सकते हैं। So यहाँ पर जो आगे हमारे लिसनर्स को आई एम श्योर कि मोस्टली तो पता चल ही गया होगा, क्योंकि फिर भी एक बार हम दोहरा देते हैं कि हमारे जो किरिट है वो कम्युनिटी के लिए जूम के साथ कंसल्ट करेंगे और ये सभी जो होता है उनके बारे में वो बताएंगे कि क्या करें। तो अच्छा है वो। सो एक और क्वेश्चन की तरफ जाएंगे से पहले आप कहेंगे कुछ?
पहले रूपा जी, तुमको कैसे लगा ये सारा प्रपोजल? तुमको अच्छा लगा या नहीं अच्छा लगा? और तुमको ऐसे कैसे लगा तुमको?
मुझे तो बहुत अच्छा लगा, क्योंकि बहुत अच्छा लगा क्योंकि ये जो अभी हो रहा है लेस्टर में पहली दफा इतने साल के बाद मेरे ख्याल में ये हॉस्पिटल पूरी नई होगी। तो मेरे ख्याल में सभी जो, क्योंकि सभी के घर में कोई ना कोई बीमार तो होता ही है, ऐसे नहीं कि कोई किसी के बीमार होते नहीं, तो उस हिसाब से सभी को एक्सपीरियंस तो होगा ही होगा।
होगा।
तो इस तो ये proposal जो है बहुत अच्छा है. ये maybe sounds 450 million pounds a lot. लेकिन अभी जो नई सेल एक अगर आप देखा जाए तो आप
एक दिन में 2
million pounds spend करते हैं. तो ये तो कुछ नहीं है. 450 million pounds कुछ नहीं है.
फिर भी बड़ी रकम है.
बड़ी रकम है, लेकिन इस प्रोजेक्ट के लिए हम सारे जो लेस्टर शहर के जितने भी पेशेंट्स हैं जो रहते हैं यहाँ पर रहवासी, उनके लिए उस हिसाब से तो ये बहुत कम है. लेकिन फिर भी गवर्नमेंट इज सो नाइस के ये दे रहे हैं हम सभी के लिए.
नहीं, बहुत अच्छा मेरे को लगा कि NHS लोग हमको पूछते हैं कि तुमको अच्छा लगा या नहीं अच्छा लगा.
बिल्कुल
बिल्कुल.
तो यही वक्त है जो हमारे जो सारे लिसनर्स व्यूअर्स जो हैं उनके जो भी हो उनके दिल में कि एक्सप्रेस करना चाहें तो वो ये बड़े मौका है. कोई भी और भी आइडियाज हो उनके लिए उनके पास
21 दिसंबर डेडलाइन लिखी है. तो इसी तुम लोग क्वेश्चन है भरो और तुम लिखो कि तुमको अच्छा लगा नहीं अच्छा लगा, और फिर सारी पब्लिक ने कैसे लिखा है वो भी हमको दिखाएंगे कि पब्लिक ने क्या लिखा है. बिल्कुल.
हाँ जी,
बिल्कुल.
तो ये बहुत अच्छा है.
ओके. और हमारा ये लास्ट प्रश्न है किरीट भाई के लिए. और सारी लोग को कैसे पता चलेगा कि प्रपोजल क्या है और उसको जास्ती information चाहिए. So how can people find out more information about the proposal, Kirit? You want to talk in English or?
Yeah, I will talk in English if that's okay. So, two things. One thing I forgot to mention is, look, in our South Asian communities, we have high prevalence of diabetes, heart disease, and respiratory issues going on. So we are going to definitely need these services in the future, if we don't manage our health better. So that's the first thing. So one of the things that we do is we run a diabetes support group for Asian people to look at better management. That's one thing. But I think in order to get further information, you've given the website. There's resources available on the website in Gujarati, in Hindi, and other languages, and there's videos. But they can also contact me if they're finding it hard to fill out the consultation or don't. They can WhatsApp contact me. We can take some of their comments and feedback and make sure that we put them into our consultation events. We're running the first one on the 9th of December, 6 o'clock. 8 o'clock in the evening. We will send you the information of that so you can share that on your website. But that's important. We're going to run these consultation events for patients. Some of our patients are dialysis patients, so they're obviously having concerns that they're currently having dialysis at General and Hamilton. What's going to happen? They're going to obviously now the plans are saying that the dialysis will take place in Glenfield. So these are the kind of things we want to hear from. Even the diabetes patients, they're saying that the General will house a really unique diabetes center, but we as patients haven't really been involved in that. So we want to be involved in how that diabetes services will shape. But I think it's a great idea to have, the services in general where the GP, the primary care services, because if you go back to India, I've been to India and I've been to a number of diabetes clinics there, and you go there at 7 o'clock in the morning and you leave there at 7 o'clock at night. You have all your treatment, all your services, all your checks under one roof in one day, and it's amazing. So we need to start. If they can do it in India, we should be able to do it with the resources that are plugged in NHS here. We should be able to provide this one-stop shop for services.
I'm going to stop you there, Kirit. You mentioned about dialysis. That will now be moved from Hamilton. The proposal is moving it from Hamilton and General to Glenfield.
That's correct. That's what the new plans are. But again, this is what what the consultation is about: is to consult what dialysis patients' views are.
Will there be more capacity for dialysis at the Glenfield?
That's what the hope is, that there's going to be more capacity, and that's why taking them at the moment, the General is overstretched. That's why they've got the Hamilton site as well. But again, these are things that we want dialysis patients to feed back to us. What are their concerns? Is it concerns that they're going to now, because they're easy to travel to General, but now coming to travel to Glenfield? Is it around, are they scared their dialysis times may go shorter, because currently they go 3 times a week, and so they're the kind of things we want to really hear from dialysis patients, so we can feed this to the consultation.
Okay, Kirit, thank you for coming along today. It's been fantastic. I'm sure we're going to be doing a lot of work together in the coming year or so, or in the future, definitely. और रूपा जी हमको किरीट भाई को बहुत बोलते हैं कि thank you so much,
हाँ, थैंक यू सो मच किरीट भाई, आपने बहुत बहुत अच्छी इंफॉर्मेशन दी है, और ये यहाँ पर रेडियो में EAVA FM पे आकर, और ज़रूर साथ में काम करेंगे, और आप जो कर रहे हैं बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं कम्युनिटी के लिए, और जैसे आपने बताया कि ये चेंजेस जो आ रहा है, अभी डायबिटीज जो है, डायलिसिस जो अभी करने, तो एक साथ एक रूफ में होगी। अभी इंडिया में अदर कंट्रीज में हो सकता है, तो यहाँ पर यूके में क्यों ना हो सकता, क्यों नहीं हो सकता? So once again, thank you so much, Kirit.
Thank you. Apologies for my bad English, my Gujarati and Hindi, but it's most important that you're there to translate for us. So thank you for that.
All right, thanks. See you later, Kirit. Bye bye.
Okay.
Bye. तो बोलिए रूपा जी, हम अभी किरीट ने ऐसे बोला है कि हमारा सारे डायलिसिस हैमिल्टन और जनरल से बंद हो जाएगा, और ये सब ग्लेनफील्ड में होने वाला है
जी। सो ग्लेनफील्ड हॉस्पिटल में जब जाएगा तो एक रूफ में बहुत अच्छा होगा, क्योंकि अभी क्या होता है कि लोगों को जाना पड़ता है 3 times a week, तो एक साथ वहां पर एक जगह पर, और इट्स अ बिग प्लेस, तो
नया
बनाएगा सब कुछ, एंड एवरीथिंग नाइस एंड क्लीन। सो उनके लिए जो पेशेंट्स होते हैं डायलिसिस के लिए बहुत अच्छा है, उनके लिए भी, है ना। सो ये कंसल्टेंट होने वाला है ये 9 दिसंबर को, जिसे
21 को बंद हो जाएगा।
हाँ, नहीं, ये जो अभी ये किरिट जो करने वाले हैं वो 9th of December को,
और उसका इवेंट है 9 दिसंबर।
हाँ जी,
सही बात।
शाम को 6 से लेकर 8 बजे तक।
तो तुमको क्वेश्चंस है, किरीट भाई को पूछो क्वेश्चंस, तुम्हारे वो साथ देंगे सभी लोग को कैसे। तो हम फाइनल बात बोलते हैं
जी, सारे
लोग को बोलते हैं कि ये क्वेश्चन है
फिल करें,
और यही है वेबसाइट betterhospitalsleicester.nhs.uk, और फोन नंबर है 01162950 और सब लोग को हम पूछते हैं कि we asking you, requesting you fill out the questionnaire।
बिल्कुल।
हाँ,
और गुजराती में भी जो नंबर है एक मैं दोहरा देती हूँ, जो नंबर है 2952110, यानी कि 2952110। तो वहां पर गुजराती में अगर आपको माहिती चाहिए तो गुजराती में भी मिल सकती है, और अदर लैंग्वेज में भी वहां पर अवेलेबल होगी।
और सारे लोग को हम बोलते हैं कि सैटरडे 9 बजे सुबह को हम दूसरा शो करेंगे बिंदु जी के साथ।
जी बिल्कुल,
मैं भी आऊंगा वो शो में। हम वीडियो भी करेंगे, और वो हमारा फाइनल शो है हमारी साउथ एशियन कम्युनिटी के लिए
जी।
और सैटरडे शनिवार को
मत भूलिएगा जुड़ने के लिए। बिल्कुल,
थैंक यू। अभी हम ये लाइव बंद कर देंगे फेसबुक और यूट्यूब में
जी,
और रूपा जी
बॉलीवुड कैरी ऑन करेंगे 10 बजे तक। सो लीजिए यहाँ पर
सारे लोग को बाय बाय बोल दो वीडियो में।
थैंक यू सो मच, आप सभी का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया जो आपने इतना साथ दिया, एंड डोंट फॉरगेट टू फिल द फॉर्म इफ यू हैवंट फिल्ड द फॉर्म। ठीक है, बिल्डिंग बेटर हॉस्पिटल फॉर द फ्यूचर।
यस।